Good evening. Hello there. Welcome along to some rFactor 2. And the yearly tradition of a Group C race in the period between Christmas and New Year's Eve. So it is the traditional, as I said, the traditional end of the year thingy. Let's see, I'm trying to get it to run on my phone so I can get the chat working. If I click this button maybe? Yeah, that's the... great stuff, great stuff. Yep, well, let's jump into the game, shall we? He says and clicks the wrong button. Hold on, I am very professional. Done this so many times. Alright, I'll do like this. We are looking at Olimar Smirval, who we were looking at Olimar Smirval, the race organizer. We have 15 drivers signed up, I think, for the evening. Yeah. No, 15 drivers signed up, including me, who will not be driving. I'll be doing the live stream instead. So 14. And I know we have had one of those 14 is not gonna be able to join us. Now let's see, if we click, yep, let's watch Fulvio, who is the fastest guy on the server at the moment with a well, just did the fastest lap time of the practice, and a big lockup into turn 1. That's a 104.3. Currently Dan in second position is 1.5 seconds behind with a 105.8. But then again, the Group C cars, they are driving to a very different... let's see, I'll take the headset off because I don't need the Discord yapping in my ears at the same time. No, you have several different levels of turbo boost and therefore fuel usage and such. Oh, well, that's a big one. And the race itself is a fairly long race, actually. It is 64 laps. So it is half the distance of the real life race, the real life Group C race that was held here. Which is held there in 1990. Let's find a Mazda then. Jerome Metral. Yeah, let's go this way. Yep, Jerome in 6th position currently. And I think Dan in 2nd position is the best positioned Mazda. The Mazda is the only car in our race that is a naturally aspirated car. And therefore should be a little bit easier to keep control of, if you like. We have Fulvio fastest with the Sauber, Dan second with the Mazda, Edward third in the Sauber, Christian in 4th position is also with a Mazda. And right now, Mr. Myhrvold in 5th position is the fastest Porsche. Well, there's only 2 Porsches out there right now anyway, with Myhrvold and Hartmut, who's in 7th. Alright, let's go to Steve then. Seems like whoever I click in the list to watch, to spectate, they go off and crash within the next couple of next lap and a half. So Steve was improving in Sector 1, slightly slower in Sector 2. And goes across the line and does improve by a couple of tenths. And then he's parking, of course. Patrick then was improving his own best time, but but just not enough to get by Steve. It's a 109.059 for Steve and 0.087 for Patrick. So that's 3/100ths of a second. Okay, the button said on board with Fulvio. This is on the roof cam. On the previous lap he put in the overall fastest final sector of the evening. That's a new purple middle sector. It might be on for another improvement. We do. That's another purple's final sector too. 104.166. Oh, well, I do like this camera angle. Yeah, no, let's go with the driver camera for going on board with Dan. Now the race is, as I say, gonna be 64 laps, so at some point everyone has to come into the pits and do some refueling. And that pit entry is evil. Now the interesting thing is that there is no there is no speed limit in the pits. Meaning you can go as fast as you like and can in the pits, which will be slightly scary for the pit stop if you are in there with a bunch of other people. And also the the pit entry, which is along the main straight, then a 90 degree corner to the right and in for a little bit, and then a 90 degree corner to the left, so you have to slow down. significantly to get into the pits. Let's see if I now click the trackside button and then the on board button again. Okay, fine. Get back onto the roof then. One thing also I want to test before the race is the replay button. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because I had problems with the replays on this track in the game in the past. Seems like it's working quite okay now. So that's nice. So we are 8 minutes or so away from the start of qualifying, and the qualifying this time will be a 15-minute session with unlimited laps. Oh. I'd resize this at some point. Okay. I guess I click the driver box. That's the then. Yeah, perfect. Still learning the overlay again, because there are so many things that I haven't used in the overlay for a long time, and stuff that I kind of forget that is there. I do, by the way, see that Edward has put in a new second best time with a 1:05.699, so he has he has gone past Dan in the standings by almost 0.2 of a second. As we have another best time put in by Fulvio, now into the 1:03s with a 1:03.776, almost 2 seconds quicker than Edward. And Edward, of course, driving the same kind of car. But this is still practice, so it doesn't really count for much just yet. From what I could hear on the chatting and everything in the forums before the race, it seems like this track is quite heavy on the tire degradation. So one thing is that you might only have to stop once for fuel, but it also depends quite a bit on how you are on your tires. Oops. Yeah, it was Anthony Bates who is in the Jost Porsche, the Blaupunkt car, finding his feet with the car. While the gap at the front is relatively big, the gap from Christian in 4th, 3.8, down to Hartmut in 8th position, 4.9 seconds, that is like 1.5 seconds in between. And Steve isn't that far behind Hartmut either in time. So yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see the way everyone plays the tactical game and everything in the race. Because in the past you had two options. You could either go full tilt and with high boost and put in some really impressive lap times and gap the field, but then you would have to come in twice to fill fuel, and that would take quite a lot of time to fill a tank of fuel, because it was a different flow rate back then compared to what we have now, because the mod has been slightly updated. So we currently have a oops. We have now, I think, somewhere around 1 second per liter instead of 2 seconds per liter of fuel, or whatever it was. It's been halved anyway. So the pit stop should take quite a bit less time. Right, so we're waiting for the server to tick over. We are missing a few drivers in here today. Well, strictly speaking, only 3. All right, we're into the qualifying session. One thing is that it's a 15-minute session, but it should... I keep yapping in my ears there. But I do quite like to have the Discord on in my ears so I can keep a tab of what everybody's doing. Well, you have 12 laps, it seems then, over the 15 minutes. I'll remove the distraction for a bit now. No, you have 15 minutes to do a maximum of 12 laps in qualifying. And it is a private qualifying as well, so you will not see any other cars on the track while driving. Righto, we are following Fulvio, who has just started his first flying lap with a big lockup into turn 1. It might not be the lockup actually, because that looked more like a very warm engine because of blanking the radiator and stuff to have less drag on the straights. Yeah, Edward had some force feedback problems, so he has disconnected and is restarting and will be rejoining pretty soon. Oh, a big tank slapper, or big wiggle in the last corner for Fulvio. There we go, across the line, and the first lap time in the qualifying is a 103.803. That's the time to beat. And we have Jerome is through with the second fastest lap time so far with a 106.5. Wavy. Patrick is through with a 108.2. Dan has also put in his first lap time, which is a 103. 106.3, sorry. We are following Hartmut, who is about to cross the line on his first flying lap. There we go, across the line for Hartmut. That's a 108.8. So he's a little bit further down the leaderboard. The thing about the way it is right now, the tires, the soft tires that you have available for these cars, they last about 2 or 3 laps in qualifying before you have to change them. Hi Hugo, welcome along. Sauber engine has given up, yeah. As I say, he has probably run with quite significant radiator blanking and all of that to have a better aero down the straights. Okay, Hartmut is coming around. He has been faster. He has. That's a 108.324, which is 0.005 of a second quicker than Steve has in the position behind him. trying to see where people are out on the circuit. Let's go with Anthony then. Who is 8th fastest at the moment. He's putting in some green sector times. It looks like an improvement. Speaking of improvement, Fulvio is in with another purple sector in the middle sector. Anthony goes off the road, and Fulvio also, yeah, well, explode another engine as he crosses the line. Fulvio do improve the pole position time with a 103.5 now, as Edward has gotten in his first flying lap. First timed lap with a 106.2. Second lap for Edward. Green first sector. Which means that he is improving on his own time. He's only 0.2 of a second behind Dan though. Or 1.5 on his best lap time. And he's going green again on the second sector. And Edward also is running pretty high engine blanking, radiator blanking. Here we go then, across the line. And that is a 105.350, and Edward goes second. I think Dan is on an out lap as it is right now. No, he's on the flying lap. Dan is with the green first sector. He is half a tenth behind Edward on the first sector. But he is improving on his own best time. Well, he went off the road enough to not get a valid lap time actually in sector 2. I didn't quite catch that. Mirvoldan out on his first timed lap. He's not quite doing well, it's not the fastest lap of the session so far. That's a 117.5. As Jerome has disconnected and reconnected, because I think one of the master deliveries is essentially cursed. There is a bug with some of it. Yeah, disturbing lack of pink. Well, he has the Simon Smith fan club on the rear wing, which is always going to be pink. But I do quite like the car. It is a makes me feel very patriotic, even though he's technically painted the flag the wrong way around. There we go, that's more like it, 106.130, that is 4th fastest for Mr. Mirvolden. So it was a good improvement on his second lap. That's a slow down lap. Who else do we have out on the track? We've got Fulvio, who is on another timed lap. Yep, that was a 105.8, which still would have put him in third position. But now it turns up the heat for the next lap. Well, maybe it was a bit too much heat. Okay, Jerome is of course setting green sector times because it is his first timed lap in this car. There we go, across the line. That's a 107.6. That is a really good time with the Mazda. Only 2.5 tenths behind Christian, who is in the position ahead. I do like the sound of the Mazda. Okay, let's go on board with Edward then at the excuse me, on the second half of this flying lap, because he is improving his best time in sector 1. Yeah, Fulvio came in a bit too hot. Yeah, you could say that he overcooked it. Okay, a grey sector time in sector 2 for Edward. It might not be. No, it wasn't. He abandoned that lap. Go to Mirval instead. As it is only 2 minutes left of the session. So everybody has the opportunity to go out and try to improve. Jerome as well has gone faster than Christian Kempf now with a 106.3. So he's up to 5th position. Not too far behind the time that Mirval has put in. And Ole is on a green sector 1 and a green sector 2. And across the line, and he goes faster than that. That's a 105.596. There's only again 2.5 tenths behind Edward. And he has one more go at it. That was a really good time. And the best Porsche out of the 3 at the moment. improving again in Sector 2. And no, that's a 106.8 for Ole across the line on the last lap. So he's not going to improve. Who else is out there? Jerome is out there still. That's a spin for Jerome, so he will not improve his lap time either. And Anthony is about to cross the line as the last car, and there we go. And for some reason it says disqualified on Anthony. He might have been able to put in too many laps, because the maximum is 12, counting both out laps. And in laps too, maybe, actually, come to think of it. But anyway, let's click the starting order button, and if I click this starting order, there we go. It does say Race Department Daytona and Daytona International Speedway. Never, don't look into that. So Edward, Fulvio first, Edward second, Ole third, Dan fourth, Jerome is fifth, Christian sixth, Hartmut starting seventh, Patrick starting eighth, Steve is starting as number 9, and Anthony is going to start as car number 10. Right, and let's get the rest of the overlay thingy running. Yeah, the Dijon Prenois circuit. There is a place somewhere I can change that, but I keep forgetting that this is a thing that I can run the overlay as this. And I also forget that it also says the track name up there. Right. I will need a little toilet break before we start this race, so I'll leave you with Edward running around here in the warm-up. 3.5 minutes until we go racing. So don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. What a time to rejoin. Can't park there, mate. Yeah. Right. So the practice session is over. The warm-up session rather is over. I don't remember if we have if we do the warm-up lap and or the sightseeing lap and everything like that, or if we go straight to the race. I don't remember. I guess we're about to find out. Oh, it says 64 laps plus formation lap. Okay. Right. Let's have a refresh of the starting order. Fulvio is starting in pole position ahead of Edward. Mirval in third. Dan Rock in fourth. Jerome in fifth. Christian in sixth. Hartmut in seventh. Patrick in eighth. And we have Steve in ninth and Anthony in 10th. So we do have both the Saubers in front. And then everybody else behind. So leading off then onto the formation lap, which is gonna be the slowest lap of the evening. So for this race, I think there is only 2 custom liveries, and they're both together. Edward with the no, wrong button. There we go. Pokemon Legends single-seater Mondays returning in 2026, because Edward is, of course, running the Monday races in the rFactor 2 Club, sponsored with that on the side as well, and GeoGuessr on the back. With the old school race department logo and everything on the car. And we are about to go racing. We're just awaiting the green flag. There we go. And we are racing. As you can expect, Fulvio is pulling away a little bit out of front. Ole is coming up into second position. And 3 of the Mazdas have gone by Edward there as well. Edward with a very careful start to the race, which is rather unusual. Oh, there's Dutch. Oh, but he saved it. Christian did save it. That was that was a good save. I thought it was gonna go round. Oh, that's very deep for Hartmut. And let's Steve by as well. Edward is really following my usual tactics in races like this. So at the end of lap 1, Ole has taken the lead of the race. Fulvio in second. And this is also a bit backwards compared to Ole's usual tactics, because he is also usually driving a little bit slower with a lower fuel mixture so that he can only do one stop. Looks like it might be two stopper for him now. Okay, and we have a yellow flag because someone is off. Didn't quite catch who that was. Might have been Anthony, because he's already 10 seconds down on Hartmut in the position behind. In the position in front. You know, spreading out a bit more now. Christian and Jerome are fairly close together. Well, in fairness, so is closer together is Fulvio and Ole. Fulvio with a 107.7 as the fastest lap of the race. Ole did a 107.8 on that lap. We gained like half a tenth of a second on that lap. Single seat Mondays are usually not my cup of tea, but Edward do put in some touring cars and other stuff in there as well from time to time, so I keep joining whenever I find the combination fun to drive and everything. As we have Anthony into the pits. So I guess that might have been a bit of a bad hit onto the car back when we had that yellow flag. Ole in front, Fulvio behind. My game keep on lagging, but I'm still in that combination. Seems like Edward and Jerome is switching positions back and forth a little bit in the midfield. As for the why I'm not racing is because I did not click with the track and these cars, and then instead of forcing a drive that will be no fun at all, I figured let's rather go for a proper live stream. And Fulvio is again straight underneath the rear wing of the Porsche up ahead, but it doesn't look like he wants to take advantage of it. It's more like you can lift and coast a little bit and save a little bit of fuel. That being said though, that's not the ideal line. Oh. Yeah. Well, that did allow Dan to taste the second position for I don't know, 3 seconds or so before they switch back. And some more yellow flags going on. There is Jerome, who has spun. What is this? This is after turn 1, or yeah. So just ahead of him is Anthony on the track. Anthony is a lap down because of that early pit stop. But he has returned to the track, and that is the important bit. And right now, I think Steve and Patrick is the closest battle we have on the track. Let's follow Steve. On board with Steve, following Patrick then. Patrick is pulling away a little bit. About half a second over that last lap, and of course Steve going deep into the first corner. That do also help. That do help Patrick a little bit. Now Fulvio lost about 2.5 seconds to Ole on that little off-road excursion that he had. But he has now turned up the boost, has put in the fastest lap time of the race with a 106.2, and is right back up there. Now let's see. Edward was all over the rear end of Christian's car for 4th position. Now he has made his way past. So Edward is making his way back up the rankings again after a less than optimal start to the race, and we are already a 10th of the way through. Well, it is a 1-minute lap, so of course it is. Things will move ahead rather swiftly. Well, I do see that Edward's best lap time at this point is half a second faster than Ole's best lap time. And they are doing similar pace, similar sector times at least around the track as it is right now, so they might actually be on the same strategy, but Ole was pushing a bit more at the start than Edward did. So if you want to stop the race, then you ideally want to stop the first time at around lap 21, 22. And if you want to one-stop the race, then you'll stop at lap number 32 then, I guess. Or later or earlier, depending on your fuel burning and all of that. The gap has gone out again between Myhrvold and Phoenix in the first 2 positions, up to 1.3 seconds. then he has half the gap again. I do have to say though, from the onboard here, it seems like the Porsche up ahead is very understeery. And that it's already struggling a bit with the front end grip. Oh, Fulvio with a big lift. Big lift and coast. Driving to a fuel number. We have a switch for 8th position. Patrick falling back. Well, Patrick fallen back from 7th position where he was ahead of Steve. That being said, it's not that far up to Steve again. It is like 3 seconds up the road. As the lead has swapped and swapped back again between Mirval and Phoenix. On the previous lap, Edward was the fastest car on the track with a 107.7. There's still quite a bit between him and Dan ahead of him. It's almost 4 seconds the gap. Fulvio's previous lap time was disallowed because of because of track limits, I suppose. Again, Fulvio is right there in the slipstream. But lifts and backs out of it big time into turn 1. Looked like a big slide from Mirval there. Might be struggling with the tires in the Porsche. On full, we're carrying so much more speed through that last corner. We're still lifting and deciding to stay behind on the straight anyway. And Edward is continuing to be the fastest car on the track. Though he was only 3/10 faster than 3 and 4/10 faster than Dan and Ola and Fulvio on the previous lap. Now Steve has done something because Jerome is past. Now will I be able to hit the replay button on this? Oh, I had the lock up on the rear tires and the braking into turn 1. Okay. I can tell you there is another gap that is closing in, and that is from Edward in 4th position to Dan in 3rd. It's now down to 1 second from 4 seconds as it was a bit earlier on. Edward is also carrying a lot better speed through the last corner compared to the cars ahead. It also feels a little bit like he's lifting and coasting a little bit onto the coming onto the straight. There we go. Anthony lets both Dan and Edward by. There you go, it's not more than 5 seconds from this battle up to the battle for the lead. Lap 17 out of 64, we are about to start. About to start lap 18, there we go. And so far we only have had that one pit stop that Anthony did on lap 2 of the race. But I guess that we will be seeing the first pit stops on strategy for the race popping up in a couple of laps. Right, Edward then versus Dan. Oh, and Dan with a big spin. Outside wheel on the... Oh, okay, that went a lot better than he could have done. Dan with one wheel on the outside curbing. That was into spin, and Fulvio has taken the lead now. But lifts on the main straight and lets Ole back by into the lead. I heard the term high-speed chess being used for motor racing, like Formula 1 and such, and this feels like it is something along the same lines. And through that first sector it pulls out almost a full second. Masters don't seem to like that uphill crest, no. And of course you have that curbing on the outside there too, and it's so easy to put the rear wheel on that curbing, and that will upset the car. And Fulvio is heading for the pits. Lap 19 we are seeing the first... Oh, and he hit the pit wall! No, 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 that's far from ideal. Let's get that in a replay, shall we? Braking, but it's not enough. That's big shunt to the pit wall. Now the question is, there we have another Mazda in the pits as well. That is Christian Kempf. Fresh set of tires going on. Fulvio's car. Christian has overshot his pit box. And Anthony is also into the pits in the background in his Porsche. One thing is, and Steve is in there in the background as well in his Mazda, so the pit stops are kicking in. No, I was gonna say the pit stop with the or the hitting of the pit wall as Fulvio did there, that might have turned into some damage, some aerodynamic damage or such, which might pop up as something to actually repair going into the pits. So we might have a bit slower pit stop because of that. And no, Fulvio. That is the only that is one of the big downsides. You can't do that in this game. It's not like iRacing and Assetto Corsa and all of those other games. Here the cars are actual physical objects in the pit lane as well. That's cost him even more time, which will of course benefit Mr. Myhrvold in the lead significantly. There is a yellow flag out there somewhere. Did not quite catch who it was. Okay, Myhrvold. Okay, so so that's a traffic jam going into into the pits. Oh my! And we also have the Mazda of Dan Rock in there. So Hartmut is in the lead now, ahead of Jerome. Now, with both Edward and Ole losing time as they did on the pit entry there, Dan might actually come out ahead of them. And another question is, where will Fulvio return? Where will Fulvio be on the track once Edward and Ole return to the track? Hartmut is continuing. Now let's follow Fulvio then, who is putting a lap down on... was that Patrick? No, it's not Patrick. Who was that? Was just went into the pits? It's Jerome. Right, so Fulvio is ahead of Dan still. After all that, but both Edward and Ole is ahead of Fulvio by 4 seconds after a pit stop. After a round of pit stops. So right now it is only Hartmut who has not been in the pits. So is he doing a one stopper or is he doing like everybody else and doing a two stopper? That's how Grandmaster sitting in the tree. Yeah. Yeah, that's one way of making a pit entry. No, I haven't really watched Hartmut all that much. It's interesting that Hartmut is in a sandwich between Edward and Ole, who is in the positions just behind him on the track. Hartmut is running the other wing configuration on the Porsche, I see. I can tell you that Fulvio is really making good effect and good use out of his fresh set of tires, because he's now only 1.4 seconds behind Mirvo, and catching big time. He caught up a full second on the first sector and half a second on the second sector. Hartmut and Patrick. Hartmut is going for the pits. So that means that everybody is on a two-stopper then. So we're back to the way it was at the start of the race again then, or for the most part through stint 1. There's a yellow flag in sector 2. That might have been Dan, who's now 11-12 seconds behind Fulvio, because he did come out of the pits like 4 seconds down the road. Yeah, because Jerome is just a second behind Dan at the moment. And then and as I'm moving away from the battle up ahead, Fulvio went by Ole because he went off the road for some reason. Where Hartmut has come out of the pits and he's slap bang in the middle of this. Fell down a little bit, maybe because of colder tires. And a yellow flag again. And Jerome is in the pits, and for some reason it says on the overlay that Hartmut is in the pits still. He's not. He is driving. Oh, he's... Did Hartmut spin maybe? Because he's now 8 seconds down the road from Ole. Looks like he might have done. Oh, still plenty of time to get back up there. Let's go into the cockpit of Ole's Porsche. Oops. That's far from ideal as well. Seems like it's not only the Mazda who struggles with being tail happy coming out of the hairpin. And that did increase the gap to the cars up ahead, which is Edward and Fulvio. And Fulvio has taken the lead and is now 2 seconds off the road from Edward. And it seems like Fulvio is pushing even further now. Yeah, he's done. The previous lap was the fastest lap of the race from Fulvio with a 106.177. And Hartmut is still struggling. Fallen down behind Dan now. Seems like he might be struggling a bit with getting the car to turn after the pit stop. Well, depending on what he did, if he tagged the wall or something, he might have some damage to the car. And Jerome behind there in the Mazda. This is for position, 0.2 of a second between them. Even though it says that they're both in the pits from the overlay thingy, which is obviously wrong. Now if I turn off the tower and turn it back on again. No, it still says pit stop. Okay. Refresh this way then. Maybe that'll sort it out. Yeah, so Jerome has gone by and is pulling away as well. Hartmut is currently circulating about 3 seconds slower than his fastest lap of the race. As the gaps between the top 3 and top 4 now has increased significantly. It's now 5 seconds from Fulvio in the lead down to Edward in second, and it's another 6 seconds down to Ole in third, and from Ole in third down to Dan down to Dan in fourth. It's now 10.3 seconds. Let's ride with Dan for a lap then. So we're about to enter the last corner of the circuit. across the line. That was a 108.5 from Dan on that lap, which is third fastest. Yeah, I think that was third fastest lap. The third fastest lap of that lap, the lap time of that lap, that was just done by everybody. Not third fastest lap time overall. The fastest on the track is still Fulvio, who is doing a 107, 106 and 107s. That being said, Edward also did a 107 on the last lap, only a couple of tenths behind. The gap now is 7 seconds between Fulvio and Edward, and 7 seconds between Edward and Ole. So it seems like everybody has gone on to a very different way of moving forward in the second stint compared to the first one. As we have Fulvio crossing the line at the halfway mark of the race. We have put 32 laps behind us. There is another 32 to go. And the pit stop thingy does not work because it says that Myhrvold has no pit stops. That's wrong. And it also says that Steve and Patrick has no pit stops, and that is also wrong. Now let's move to Steve in 8th position, because he is catching Christian in the position ahead of him rather rapidly. It's now 0.9 of a second between them. In the two Mazdas. Yeah, that pleasure livery that Steve is driving with is a it is a striking livery. Let's go on board with Steve then. As you can see, Steve was over a second faster on the previous lap compared to Christian. There's a yellow flag somewhere. Ah, okay, so it is technically a wrong paint scheme, if you like, on the car. Wrong livery. Well, that being said, I think it's like 6 Mazda liveries to choose from in the mod, so I guess that's why they chose to chose to go with this one. And Anthony has retired. Anthony has retired out of the race. After 30 laps. And the gap between Steve and Christian has stabilized itself. Well, the Mazda isn't as bad as the Sauber in terms of livery selection, because the Sauber has like 3 liveries to choose from, and all of them are grey. It's just the plate where the rear lights are positioned. Those are the only ones that are different. Christian and Steve is about to put another lap on Patrick, it seems like. Yeah. Classic German resale silver, yep. Christian flirting with disaster on the curbing on the exit of the last corner. Didn't seem to lose too much time in that. I did spot, by the way, that the previous lap that Ole did was a 1:11 and then a 1:09.6 on the lap I just did. Oh, and Christian has spun into the hairpin. And here comes Fulvio. Right, so we were robbed of that battle then. And Jerome in 5th position in his Mazda. There we go, he has just put in his best lap time of the race with a 1:08.256. And we move to the front because Fulvio is back into the pits. That was quite early in my books. Lap 39. Now that is interesting. I'm moving the replay back. Okay. Fulvio might have run a lighter fuel load or a higher boost level, which would explain the way he just pulled away from Edward and Ole in that. Oh, coming back out onto the track in 8th position. So Fulvio is, well, pretty much a lap down then at this moment in time. But we have a battle on our hands for what is currently 2nd position, because Dan has been catching Ole hand over fist. It's like half a second faster in the first sector alone. As I say that, he goes wide off road. Steve with a problem. Oh, Steve has a problem. He was clicking on the dashboard. Missed the pits entry, and he has run out of fuel. Bum bum bum. That's gonna be the 2nd retirement of the race. Dan is again very, very close. Oh, and another car. Oh, oops. I'm on the wrong screen here. So that was Christian rejoining the race after his 2nd pit stop. So lap 42 out of 64, we are within the window. Oh no, Edward is out. That's a disconnect. Well, that's also not very helpful. So suddenly then this fight we're watching on the screen is the fight for the lead. Right, Fulvio did a 1:08 on his previous lap. Looks like Edward might have been able to rejoin actually. And now the overlay thingy thinks that Fulvio is still in the pits. Let's see if I click refresh on this one. Yep, there we go. Well, one thing is that Mirwell has Dan Rock just behind, but Jerome is also 4.6 seconds further down the road. interesting. Now Fulvio did a 109.7 on the previous lap, while Mirvo and Rock did a 105 and 109.5, 109.6. So, yeah. Now Edward did rejoin and he's just, well, one lap down after that problems. And he might be able to go all the way to the end from here with the full tank and everything that he got from rejoining. So it's gonna be interesting. As Dan is blinking first, he's heading for the pits. That's how you do a pit entry. And Jerome in the background as well is going in. Both the Mazdas coming into the pits on lap, well, 44 then essentially. Which will allow Hartmut to get... what did I do now? Oh, I clicked the wrong button. Never mind. Yeah, no, Hartmut gets by, but he's into disconnect, and Mirville with a disconnect. Oh, has the server crashed? Oh no. Yeah, that was a super clean line. Super clean line on pit lane entry. Well, this was shaping up to be a very interesting... Okay, so it seems like people are rejoining. Yeah, I do agree, Hugo. The race was really becoming interesting with all the strategies and everything. Well, the gap between Fulvio and Edward is only 16 seconds. And that is despite Edward's disconnect and rejoin. But of course Edward did rejoin with essentially then a full tank of fuel and a fresh set of tires. And so he did not do the pit stop as such, but he was able to rejoin anyway, so yeah, no. It will be interesting to see if Edward can go all the way to the end, by the way, on this tank of fuel, or if he needs to do some stupid fuel saving or anything towards the end to get all the way. So currently we are only missing Mr. Myhrvold, who still can't see the server on the on the list in the game, so he can't rejoin. He's the only one who hasn't. Still can't rejoin. Hartmut and Christian is gone again. And everybody's still on Discord. And Fulvio heads for the pits. That was a very short pit stop for Fulvio. Refilling the tank to maximum, I suppose. Patrick has rejoined. He's out on this circuit. So Fulvio has rejoined 5 seconds behind Edward. And seems to be going fast. Well, he is going faster because he's now got a full tank of fuel. Fairly evenly spaced between the 4 cars that are on the lead lap still. 5 and 6 seconds between all of them. So we're left with 3 Mazdas and 2 Saubers then in the race. Still 14 laps to go. So we'll keep going until they decide to stop, which might just be after the checkered flag. So Fulvio gained 3/10 on Edward on that previous lap, so it wasn't that much. And Jerome did his fastest lap of the race on that previous lap with a 107.900. Which is the third fastest lap, no, fourth fastest lap of the race. Well, that is between everyone who has been on the server. That is really good. I was gonna say that it looked like we've missed Patrick again, but no, we haven't. He's just leapfrogged everybody else who is on the retirement list. As I could see him ahead of Jerome on the track. Yes, there is. And again, difficult to read because Fulvio had a disallowed lap time, but he is now suddenly a second closer to Edward. And as I say that, yeah, no, still 4 seconds between them. Let's go on board with Jerome then. Oh, into the wall behind there was Patrick. Was off the road on one side first and then off the road on the other side afterwards. And now Edward had a disallowed lap time as well. But the gap stays relatively the same, around 4 seconds. And then suddenly it's down to 3.1. Because he did catch 6/10 from Fulvio compared to Edward on the last sector. Yeah, well, it was really looking interesting because the way that Fulvio was suddenly splitting the strategy a little bit. Okay, and something happened up ahead, because Fulvio is now 11 seconds behind. Let's have a look at the replay if we can. No. Now the replays are bugged. Okay, so Fulvio had a spin after the and a spin after the hairpin. Well, so it has taken an hour in order for the replays to bug up like they have been in the past. Short yellow in sector 3 and Patrick is into the pits. And suddenly it's only 3.5 seconds between Dan and Fulvio. But if the lap times has been anything to go by, then I do guess that Fulvio will extend that gap again. On to lap 57 out of 64 then. And Dan with a personal best second sector out there on the track. Well, you know what? It is only 20 seconds separating the top 4. Still. Yeah, and Dan did actually catch Fulvio by 4/10 on that lap. Let's go on board with Dan then for a couple of laps. A 107.9 from Dan. That was a 108.5 from Fulvio, so that's another half a second. Dan is putting pressure on Fulvio then at the end of the race. He is quickly running out of laps though. But still 2.2 seconds between them. And he has 4 more laps. Well, 5 really. So half a second on each of those laps, that would be that would be enough. And Jerome has gone the fastest second sector of anyone on this particular lap in the lap that we're on. Well, Fulvio did fight back on the last sector though, with a 108.055 and Dan with a 108.152. Dan lost the 10th then across that lap as a whole. Now Dan and Fulvio did exactly the same sector 1 time on this lap. I do like that Hugo has also caught up to the level of preparation and everything that Ole usually put into the races. On the previous lap, the fastest car on the track was Jerome in 4th. 0.6 of a second quicker than Dan in 3rd position. And though it is 4.5 seconds between, it's not, it's not massive, that gap either. It seems like Edward has done a couple laps where he has been lifting and coasting a little bit extra to be sure that he will get to the finish line without an extra stop for fuel. We had almost 12 seconds and now it's down to 8.5. Fulvio was about half a second quicker than Dan on that lap. But 0.2 faster than Fulvio again was Jerome. So he's really pushing now over the last part of the race is Jerome. He's keeping the pressure on, so that if Fulvio or Dan has a half spin or whatever up ahead, then that will be he will be ready to jump on that and take advantage. Not having said that, Jerome did a 1 minute and 10 on this last lap, while Dan did a 1:07.9. But as everything stands right now, through the last corner and about to start the final lap of the race is Edward. In what seems to be a commanding lead by 7 seconds. It was a 1:09.0 for Edward on this on this lap. Fulvio did a 1:08.0, and Dan did his personal best with a 1:07.5. And that's a 1:07.9 from Jerome on that lap. So everybody's keeping the pressure on. So Edward then over the bumps into the last corner of the race, and onto the main straight, and That is a solid victory. Finishing the race in first position. The gap down to Fulvio in second, then 3.6 seconds. Dan takes third. Further 2 seconds down from Fulvio. And Jerome across the line in fourth. And then the last car to cross the line is Patrick, the master. And there we go. Well, big congratulations to Edward then for the win in this year's special. This year's special event. Oops. So we'll move back then to the picture of the custom liveries that we had in the race last year. Yeah, indeed, the Saubers held on to a 1-2. As it was. Righto, that will be it for this one. I have no idea if I have anything lined up for next week. Anyway, I will have a look at the Dakar Desert Rally again. Do another one of those longer races in Dakar, but that is the only one that I have in my mind currently. But yeah, no, that will be it for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Do enjoy whatever is left of your Sunday, and I will catch you all later. So take care then, and goodbye.